Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep.
My video might not be the greatest, but
That's all right. As long as I can hear you.
Yep.
That's good. Sound fine.
Cool. I mean, the Wi-Fi is a little wonky, but
Right.
if it worst comes to worst, I'll just
Yeah.
I'll just keep calling in.
Yeah, you should be fine.
Okay.
You'll be fine. Cool. You're the first in here. Yeah, so don't have anybody else yet.
Okay.
Well, my poll for the DMF enough poll has definitely surprised me with the outcome.
I didn't see it. What was the?
Yeah, no, I just I'll tell you in a second. Let's see. There's Josh. Hello, Josh.
Hello.
Hey, Josh.
So it looks like we're going to have some stuff to talk about today, or at least during the show. It looks like Kane and Tay's contracts are done. No idea
Awesome.
what they got, but sure it'll trickle out in the next hour, maybe half hour. Yeah. My guess is it's somewhere between 11 and 12 million a year. That's my guess.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're
not worth that, but that's a ton.
They're going to be the highest paid players in the NHL. Yeah.
They should be.
And I dropped 2 more pounds. I'm down 52 pounds now.
Holy moly, man!
Yeah, it's just melting away.
I am jealous. Yeah. You're gonna do whatever you're doing.
Well, I'm trying this new thing that actually is working, and I've lost I lost 7 pounds in 2 days.
Well, it's not healthy.
It's called actually it is healthy.
It is.
It's called Purium. It's
okay.
Basically, you take these vegan protein pills,
okay.
And then 2 hours later you have this shake, which is like wheatgrass, and it's basically all superfoods in this thing, and you're getting all the nutrients you need, that your body needs. And you're not having any processed stuff or anything. So basically, what it's doing is when you're losing the weight, it's taking from your fat that's stored in your body.
Right. Holy moly.
So it's actually pretty amazing. I mean, there's people that have lost between 20 and 30 pounds in 10 days on this thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
so what is it again? What is it again, Josh?
Purium. It's called Purium. Purium.
Is it sold at like GNC and stuff like that, or?
No, it's not. Okay. But if you decide, if you want to do some research on it, if you decide you're interested, I can get you a $50 gift card towards it. If you're interested,
send me an email about it.
Yeah, but the only thing is you're not eating bread, which is something I know that you'll have a hard time. I know you like bread.
I've done that before. I don't eat bread.
It's so tough for me, but I'll try it.
So basically, what you do is it's 3 separate meals, and it's 2 hours between the vegan protein and the shake, and you're allowed flex foods. Like you're allowed with each dosage of vegan protein. Like I'll have a cup of cut up cucumber or organic. Everything's organic that you eat, that you put in your body. It's all organic stuff. Cucumbers, raspberries, blueberries, watermelon, an apple. It's all organic, and it's actually working.
That's awesome. Yeah, all right.
And it takes away the cravings too. So
why don't we get started while you have
the Wi-Fi. That's awesome. Yeah. Send that through. Give me 1 second here.
No problem.
Putting something up.
Oh, there we go. We got deals here.
Yep. 11
Year extensions. 10.5 per year.
For each of them?
For each of them. 8 years.
Wow. That's breaking.
Wow, that's right. Well,
that's the most, right?
We'll talk about.
We'll start talking there. That is the most. All right, so let's go right into it. It's Wednesday, June 9th.
Wednesday, June 9th.
Okay. Yes. Hey, Hockey World. It is Wednesday, June 9th, 2014.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm not paid $10.5 million. Oh, I'm Josh River.
You're kidding? You both are asking for. They only signed a deal together for $10.5 million apiece. 2 of you, and I Eklund, yeah. Well, sure. Why not? I don't care. I got that right underneath my sock here. And I'm Eklund, and you're watching the Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. Today, coming to you, Josh is in his normal locale in Toronto. Where are you, Mike?
I'm at the MasterCard Center in Etobicoke, Ontario for the Toronto Maple Leafs rookie tournament or rookie camp and scrimmage. There are about 29 rookies were skating around the ice about an hour ago, and we're waiting for some media interviews a little later on.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so that's Mike's at Maple Leafs rookie camp, and that's why we don't really have a video from him very well today. So, but as long as I can see you, we can all see you, Josh, and everybody can see me for now. So we'll go with that. We'll stick with this, and I guess we should just start right now with this signing. If you're just joining us, if you weren't watching the pre-show, the Josh Rimmer reporting that the Chicago Blackhawks have inked Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews to $10.5 million per year.
And that's actually from Darren Dreger, the $10.5 million.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
I don't want to be accused of stealing,
No. Never. Such thing. Only for me, Josh. Only for me. Don't steal from Dreger. Oh my goodness, it's crazy.
Well,
how many years? I'm assuming this is an 8-year deal, right?
It's a max year deal for both of them.
Right.
So $84 million for 8 years.
Okay. Interesting.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Let me be the first. Let me be the first to say that Stan Bowman should be tested for sanity. I mean, okay. I mean, we know that the cap is going to be going up between $85 to $90 million over the next 2 or 3 years. So in that realm, if that is the case, then I guess Kane and Toews are $10.5 million players. But right now, it's not a guarantee, and it's a big risk. And, they're lucky that they added Brad Richards for $2 million because they really wouldn't be able to afford a number 2 center paying those guys over $10 million a year.
Oh yeah. I mean this is setting up the Hawks for a long time to come, obviously, and this is a great deal for in my opinion. I'm okay with this deal being, when you have 2 players like this and you have such a successful team, you got to keep them together, and I think that we all can agree on that, right, Josh?
Absolutely. I'm shaking my head because why do we have a lockout again?
Yeah, I know.
I know in other sports guys are making stupid money. In basketball, some guys make between 20 and 25 million a year. Baseball players are up there. Football players make a lot of money, but I'm just like $10.5 million a year. That's just insane.
Right now, for next season, Josh, these 2 guys are about 30% of the Blackhawks payroll. Their cap.
Yeah, I agree.
That's $20 million on a $69 million cap. That's around 30%.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I mean, it is a lot of money, but this is a team that's that is built around these 2 players, and gosh, it's been working for them. They've got 2 Stanley Cups in 4 years. You can't go past that, right? I mean, in my opinion, you can't get past that. 2 Stanley Cups.
No, and they're in their mid-20s. They're in the just entering the prime of their careers. They both have championship pedigree. They apparently both want to stay there. I believe both have Pat Brisson as their agent, so they negotiated together. all these rumors of Kane wanting to go out on his own and come back to Buffalo and save the Sabre franchise proved to be basically a lot of bunk. So it'll be interesting how this evolves, and you can ring the bell, but it'll be interesting how it evolves because, maybe down the line a couple of years there will be a parting of the ways, but right now they want to stay together and try to win another 1 or 2 Stanley Cups together.
Yeah, and they will. I think they will. As long as they can keep their defense together as well. Their defense is going to be the next big signing for these guys. They've got Duncan Keith coming up, and you've got some players there that are going to be, Seabrook. We've talked about. There's a lot coming down the pike for Chicago here.
Now,
So
does this mean that they do trade Patrick Sharp? I mean, do they have to trade Patrick Sharp to fit these two deals in? I mean, because right now teams can go, I believe, 10% over the cap
yeah,
before the
right.
season. But I'm not looking at Cap Geek right now, so I can't really tell whether they're over the number or not.
Well,
But
this
actually,
isn't until next year anyway.
that's right.
So
Yeah, that's right. Correct.
this won't change anything for this year.
Right.
But coming up next year, yeah, they'll have this will definitely affect them. This will definitely affect how they have to do things. And we say, as we said before, Patrick Sharp is not available at this time, quote unquote. Maybe Patrick Sharp is available at this time a year from now, because they're going to have to figure out something for sure. This puts Chicago into a different, this is Chicago also. This is the first big player signing really since the new CBA. And I would call this obviously these are the first $10 million players. We're back over $10 million, right? Like Josh, you said, like what was this for? See, and I do agree with you, Josh, on that, but I also have to say this, that I think what the CBA was for, in my opinion, was more about what we're seeing in Nashville and what we're seeing in Florida and what we're seeing in Dallas, where these teams are able to compete, and because they're getting more percentage of they're getting more of a percentage of the gate than they used to do. So that's really what the CBA was for. $10 million players in Chicago, these guys should get $10 million. I mean, the amount of revenue these guys generate for that team is crazy. I mean, and what they do there, not to mention jerseys, sales, and everything else. Kane and Taves are worth $10 million a piece for 8 more years. There's just no question about it in my mind.
Well, I mean, Eka, I think they're worth more. I mean, they're worth 10.5, unlike Nikitin's worth 4.5.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, whatever. I don't know what the Oilers are doing. But you want to throw stupid money at guys that are fifth and sixth defensemen, third pairings, might not even get power play time. I mean, go ahead. But I believe Kane and Taves now, if I'm correct, that they are the highest paid now in the league. Is that correct?
Yeah.
They eclipse Ovechkin. And they do eclipse Ovechkin with that contract. James Myrtle, the Globe and Mail, was reporting what I was just saying. Both of the two players, Kane and Taves, total 28% of the Hawks payroll for the starting 2015-16 season. So, yeah, I mean, but that's at the current $69 million cap figure.
No, we lost Mike there. That is a big percentage of a team. Although you have to, like you said there, I think the big thing at the end there, Josh, is this is the current cap figure. This is and the cap will go up. The cap could have gone up more this year and it didn't. So I'm guessing that next year it goes up a lot more. That it'll be a bigger jump.
I hope so for Chicago's sake, because you look at obviously now they're going to be paying Kane and Taves 10.5, but you're also paying Seabrook $5 million a year. You're paying Duncan Keith 7.5. Halmerson's making 4.2, and then the forwards Sharp 5.5, Hossa 7.9. Or actually, he's making 7.9 this year, 7.9 next year. He's making. Bickle's making 4 this year, 4.5 next year. Versteeg's making 4.7 and 4.7 the following year. Although I thought the Panthers might be taking some of that salary, maybe not. I mean, that's a lot of money to have tied up. You're gonna have a tough time keeping, your core together, and I think eventually you're gonna see Patrick Sharp maybe on the move because it seems the most logical choice. You're not going to be able to trade Hossa. No one's going to take that on. No one wants Versteeg. They're not going to deal Seabrook. They love Seabrook. Siebes and Duncan Keith are their two guys on the back end. Halmerson's the third guy. They're not going to deal any of those guys. So, I mean, the logical choice seems that they might have to deal Patrick Sharp, especially if that cap doesn't go up next year.
Well, Versteeg is only a $2 million cap hit, so the Florida's taking half of that cap hit. So
that's what I thought.
Yeah, so I mean, they're probably going to have to find a home for an Oduya or a Letty or somebody of that nature if they don't want to trade Sharp. But they're going to have to probably move some money out next year.
No, that's it exactly, and they're going to have to, and it's just the reality of the situation. Now, there's Mike. We can actually see him, Mike.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him before. Anyway, so yeah, Mike is frozen, but we could see him for a second. There's the lovely Michael Ogello. All right, so how does this? I mean, I really don't think this is surprising. It doesn't really affect the rest of the conference too much. I mean, the rest of the conference is already trying to keep up with Chicago and LA. Josh, they're already there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, LA's might have the same issue as well. I mean, we've heard, rumors of Mike Richards and trying to move Richards, but there aren't many teams that would be willing to take on that kind of money. I mean, what's he making? $7 million?
Yeah.
Or no, sorry, $6 million. Oh no, he is $7 million. $7 million this year, $6 million the following year, 5.5, and then 4.5.
His cap hit's reasonable.
Not many.
His cap hit's in the
I mean,
fives.
yeah, 5.75 is his cap hit. Yeah, I should probably be going by cap hits, not how much.
I guess the question is that also when you look at this, like Sharp is one option for them to move out, but look at a guy like Hossa. Hossa continues to perform at a high level, but at some point I could see a buyout from Hossa. That would make sense.
Yeah, I think that is a possibility. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, 5.2 cap hit, but I mean he's making some pretty good dollars. So. I mean, Brian Bickle, I mean, they threw him that big contract after they won the Cup. He really wasn't, as effective as he was the following year. I know he was battling injuries and stuff, but, I mean, they're going to have a tough time keeping their core together, and they got young guys. I mean, they keep finding these young guys that are panning out as well. I mean,
I know,
I'm talking about Brandon Saad. I love Brandon Saad.
You're going to have to pay him at some point. You're going to have to pay him at some point.
Exactly.
I mean, these guys,
but
only so much will go around.
I mean, Eck, that there's going to be teams lining up for Patrick Sharp. I mean, what Sharp? 32 years old. Still got probably 7-8 years left in the league.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be a few teams willing to, to acquire him. The question is, what would the asking price be? I mean, obviously, it's not going to be money going the other way. Like a player that makes a lot of money, it's going to be more prospects or maybe draft picks, but the Chicago's in a tight spot with that unless they can get move some other guys out. I mean, they just gave Richards a 1-year deal at $2 million. If Richards has a huge year this year, they might have a hard time paying Richards afterwards.
Yeah,
holding on to him if he has a rejuvenation in Chicago.
Exactly.
So they don't have a lot of room to play with right now, and they're playing with fire. I mean, if you ask me right now, and able to keep that core together that won the Stanley Cup just 2 years ago.
Yeah, but
a year ago.
Yeah, a year ago and then 3 years ago, right? This is one of those, or 4 years ago now. Jeez. Yeah, this is one of those situations where you have to keep these guys. Though there's no option here. So, I mean, there really are. When you get stars of this level that are that important to your team, you're stuck. And what we're going to see is, are they going to face the same kind of fate that Pittsburgh has in a way faced? Like Pittsburgh has been ahead of this to a degree, and you look at the Penguins, and they have Malkin and Crosby have big contracts, have had them at big contracts for a while now, and it has hurt them when it comes to trying to fill in the other pieces. And I really do believe that when you see the Penguins, they are a little bit top heavy, and they can't go out and they can't get those $2 million players or $3 million players that you need to win in the playoffs. I mean, players like this, that you need those players. You need the Brendan Sads, you need the Bickles to come up big for you in the playoffs, even though you've got Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews and Seabrook and Keith and all that. That's what
Chicago got lucky, Chicago got lucky when they won the Cup 4 years ago. They traded out. They got rid of Bufflin. They got rid of Andrew Ladd. They lost. Who else did they lose? Well, Happy Bullen was the goalie there. I think it was Happy Bullen, right, in Chicago?
They lost Niemi.
Niemi. Not Happy Bullen. I always mix those two up.
Yeah.
I mean, they got lucky. They got rid of those guys, and they held on to what they had. And they had this other younger talent coming up, like Saad, like a few other guys as well, Andrew Shaw, Brian Bickle. And they got lucky because they were able to win another Cup 2 years later. I don't know if they'll be able to get rid of a couple other guys again that maybe were part of this last Cup, and if they could do that again in 2 years, because eventually it's going to wear thin.
Well, they're saying in the chat room, and they're kind of right, that Bickle is sort of the guy who would be the Dustin Bufflin essentially of this team. You know, like
Yeah.
the guy that you would look at and Bickle would be a trade, you know, a tradable commodity. They were smart when they traded Bufflin. They got something for him when they made the move. You know, they didn't keep it. They didn't have to buy him out. They didn't just lose him for nothing. They actually traded him surprisingly to a lot of people. You know, like when that move came down, that was a big shocker to a lot of people. So yeah, I think that's getting all kinds of texts as you are, I see.
Yeah, my phone's just going crazy right now.
Yeah, same here. By the way, love this, guys. This, if you're interested in something kind of cool, this thing, let me see if you can see here, is a this Galaxy Gear 3 watch. It has what I love, my texts pop up right on it, and I can see. I don't have to look at my phone. And,
You're sounding like a robot a little bit there, Rick.
I am. Yeah, I think we have a weird connection today in general, so we're trying to. Maybe it's I don't know if it's Mike or what's going on, but yeah, I love this Galaxy watch. It's really, really nice. For any hockey fans out there, you guys will like it as well. I would definitely recommend it.
Sounds better.
Okay.
You're sounding like Max Headroom there.
Yeah, weird connections today. Weird connections today, indeed. I think, we got that going down. The other thing.
No, I was just going to say.
Go ahead, Josh.
Sorry.
You're up.
No, I was just going to say. It's going to be interesting to find out when these other UFAs start picking up. There hasn't been obviously any big signings in the last couple of days. It's been pretty quiet. I guess a lot of maybe regrouping, and maybe other teams have called players and given them other options to think about. So I'm wondering when that's going to pick up a little bit here as well, Ek.
I'm hearing to expect something around, on Del Zotto around Friday. A couple of the other players, Derek Roy could be earlier than that. I have definitely gotten a sense, and I spent a lot of time the last couple of days calling, talking to people, as I'm sure you did as well, just to find out where everybody was at. And there was a general sense that of like this big exhale, after everything that happened. Teams wanting to see where they are, and teams looking for bargains with these UFAs. These last UFAs, teams want to get them for nothing, and that's why we're coming up with a little bit of a, I don't know, like a standoff, so to speak. Where these UFAs don't want to play for nothing, but these teams are like, well, we only have so much cap space, so this is where we are, right now. So I think right now we're looking at teams, really. There's going to be another rush here because there's still lots more to do. There's still lots of players out there to be had. Mike, how you doing? We're back with you.
Still quite a few goalies out.
Quite a few goalies. I know. I think the goalie.
Yeah, thing, I'm really interested to see where Brodeur goes.
Yeah. I am too. And I think that it's going to be kind of up to Marty. Hey, Mike, can you hear us? Okay. Mike, better. Maybe we should give Mike the day off here. That's absolutely fine. Josh and I can run this thing. Let's text Mike on that one. So anyway. Yeah, I mean, Brodeur is sort of in a situation where, I think he's kind of, when you talk to people about Marty Brodeur, you get the same thing coming back. People are like, I don't know, we really bringing Marty Brodeur in. That's, he's a great player and all that, but what does that do to our room? And what does that do? He's a real big personality. He's a real, you have to have another goalie who's comfortable with that, which is going to be kind of hard to find in some situations. Like the Islanders bring him on, for example, and Jaromir Halak, who's been in this situation before of being, hasn't shown to be a very good goalie when he's got another goalie fighting with him in spots. He wants to be the guy. That's why Minnesota stayed away from Jaromir Halak, and went for Brizgalov. Go ahead.
Here's the interesting thing with Brodeur. Brodeur, as you know, the last few years has been negotiating with Lou Lamoriello himself. He hasn't had an agent. He did hire Pat Brisson about a month ago, and Brisson is handling all of the negotiations now. By that move, it made me realize that he's not going to go back to New Jersey. He is going somewhere else, because if he was staying in New Jersey, he would have negotiated himself with Lamoriello like he has the last two contracts that he's signed. So he's hired Pat Brisson from CAA. I'm guessing maybe a possible choice, and I'm sure Brisson would sell him on this, is Pittsburgh. Marc-Andre Fleury, it's still up in the air. I mean, whether or not he's going to remain a Penguin. Right now, it looks like he will be. But Martin Brodeur would be a definite great move by the Penguins to have that insurance marker.
Doesn't it? It seems like the perfect. Fit. I mean, when you look at it, it really even if Fleury is still there, I mean, it seems like the perfect fit. I mean, I know they went out and they got a backup, but I think that when all is said and done, I mean, the Devils want to bring up their kid from the AHL to back. They signed Billington, but that's not even the guy they really want to be their backup. I think that when you look at it, they don't want. It is time for Murray to move on from New Jersey. They have to give Corey Schneider the reins and let him go with it because and part of that, but that Brodeur thing definitely travels with him. If I was the Penguins, this is like the absolute perfect player for them. You get a guy who comes in who can, he will challenge Marc-Andre Fleury, but Marc-Andre Fleury is done after this year anyway. He's a UFA. He's not going to be there next year. So let someone challenge Marc-Andre Fleury.
I guarantee you that Brisson's probably hooked up Crosby and Brodeur, and they're probably talking.
You're right about that, 100%, because Brisson does that with Crosby with a lot of players.
Yeah,
absolutely,
exactly,
and not just Crosby, but other players too.
Yeah, what they need to do, Eck, as you well know, is they got to sell them on picking a cup over being a 60 or 55 to 60 game starter in the NHL. They have to sell them on that, and that's. I think that's very doable. I think Marty probably would be up for winning another Stanley Cup. That would be his fourth. And I can see that as a possibility. I think Pittsburgh would be the best fit for him right now.
And he's so close with his family and so close with his kids. Playing within the Metro Division still means that you're playing the Flyers.
And it's not far from New Jersey either.
It's not. It's a 4.5 hours. It's a 5-hour drive roughly to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. It's not like he's going to the West Coast or anything like that.
Right, but you're playing most of the time. You're when you look at your situation, you're playing how many games against the Flyers, Devils, Rangers, and Islanders. So you're on the East Coast all the time, and basically, the way this works is teams would give him, you're gonna let Marty Brodeur, if you got a day off, you're gonna let him go visit his family for a day while he's in this area. That just makes so much sense, and it's a French Canadian goalie. Marc-Andre Fleury could use a mentor in many ways. Either this makes the way I see it, either this will make or break Marc-Andre Fleury, and if it breaks him, you're in a spot where you have a goalie for the playoffs that you can count on that's not going to fall apart on you.
And the other thing too, Eck, with Brodeur going, if he goes to Pittsburgh, is some goalies play better when there is another player there. That's competition. I mean, last year Vaucoun was hurt, so he didn't get to really, back up Fleury as much this past year. Right. Fleury, in the back of his mind, thinking, hey, you know what? I could lose my starting job to Brodeur. I got to play better. Right. Some guys play better when there's competition. Some guys don't. Maybe this helps out Fleury.
I think it would. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. I don't think there's many other places. I mean, Chicago is another place I thought of for Marty, but that you can be assured that with Brisson as an agent that these talks are happening. That like you said. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It really is a no-brainer.
Both Crosby and Malkin could take him out, right? Because Malkin's Brisson as well.
Yeah, I know. It's and there's plenty of players, who he represents, and what Brisson's players are very good at is talking. They all tend to be very good at talking up situations. I've seen this before. I've seen it happen with many different, like at least a dozen players I can think of that are represented by him. And during the lockout, they were very active too. And they're very active type players. They all have sort of a similar personality that way.
Now we know why. Now we know why Brisson didn't want to be the general manager in Pittsburgh. Because who wants to walk away from $190 million?
I also can't imagine how I can't imagine how the NHL would be the amount of energy that it would take, to become the general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins for Brisson too, because the NHL would have I just know from some of my friends who've gone from the agents world to even assistant GMs that it's like they equate it to converting to another religion. They say you have to go through so much the NHL because there are so many conflicts of interest. I mean, he represented Crosby and Malkin, like you said, so now he's going into Pittsburgh on the other side of that. He's got to totally put all that aside. and somehow sign away everything that any connection to those players whatsoever, which is a big deal to sign away your connections to Crosby and Malkin and any other player in the NHL as well, not just because once you're a GM you can't represent or even be a part of your agency anymore. So it's a big. If you become a GM, it's because you want to become a GM, not because of the money. Obviously, agents do way better than GMs do. It's not even close.
And he also represents Tavares and Kopitar and Duchesne. I mean, who wants to walk away from that kind of money, right?
Seriously, no, I know, but I could see this. I could definitely see that. I still think that if Marty Brodeur, people are in the chat room were saying Marty Brodeur to the KHL. That's just not going to happen. There's no way.
No.
I mean, he'll retire before that happens. No question in my mind. That's where that would
Everyone
go.
wants to get rid of Clarkson in the chat room, apparently, too.
Yeah, well, everyone always wants to get rid of Clarkson. I know that so that brings me to my blog for a second, because we talked about the Maple Leafs yesterday, and I don't want to talk too much about the Leafs today, but I did want to talk about this question that I threw out today, because I was very interested in it, and to see how people would respond to this. And so far, almost 3,000 people have responded in less than a half hour, I guess, or just over just an hour now, about an hour. When I asked the question, should the Leafs really trade Dion Phaneuf at this point? Like when you think about what's happened, what's gone on, with everything that's gone down, should they really trade him at this point? And I gave them 2 yes answers and 2 no answers. And the first yes was get what you can, or yes, but only for the right price, or no, he is more valuable than whatever you can get, or no, tough D-man don't grow on trees. Those are the 4 answers I threw out there. I'm kind of surprised by the answer here. By the answers, I expected people would want to trade Dion Phaneuf, but it's 75% essentially saying yes to trade Dion Phaneuf. I think that's a little crazy. I just have to say, I think that this is a little bit. Now you know the situation better than I do, obviously. But there are players like, okay, Dan Salvati in the chat room, I appreciate it. No, Eck, we need Dion. You see, I think that at this point where the Leafs are right now, there's such a temptation to do this. This is the only real entity you have to trade, that you need to make a change like you talked about yesterday, Josh. What's going on? What's happening here? But really, is it better, Josh, to trade Dion Phaneuf at this point?
I don't think so, because I don't think you're going to get great value for him. Everyone knows the Leafs are trying to move him. I don't think you'll get good value for him. I think now the best thing to do is, go into the season as with him as your captain, your defenseman, your leader, and see how he does. And if he starts playing really well, you never know. I mean, you got to sell him when his value's high, not when it's low. Now basically, I don't think you'd get anything for him. Maybe a pick or something, but nothing special. I think they're better off right now holding on to him.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree with you. My answer would have been no. He is more valuable than whatever you can get. Or no, tough D-men don't grow on trees. Oh, both of those are actually true. This is the kind of guy that teams do want. But the question remains, you just can't give up on this guy for nothing and expect the Leafs to move forward this year at all. If the Leafs are going to move forward, they have to at least have what Dion Phaneuf brings to the table. Plus, not without him. Not suddenly looking at a defense that doesn't have Dion Phaneuf in there. To me, that's a big problem. I mean, Robidas is going to help out. He's going to help out. We didn't talk about him yesterday too much, or when we talked about the Leafs, but he is going to help out. I think I like Robidas a lot, and people around who have played with Robidas just say he is. I mean, I know he's not a big, he's not a real sexy type player to sign, but he brings.
He's had some health issues.
He's had health issues for sure, but when he's playing and when he's around that room, and especially with a young defense that gives the puck away as much as Toronto does, Robidas is a kind of deep defender that I would want in there. That's my take on it for sure.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because and a lot of people in the chat room are also saying the same thing. But as we sit here, 75% of 3,000 people think they should trade him. That's the curious thing, and I know there's a definite need here for the Leafs to do something, but I don't think this is the thing to do. I think there's other options. I think James Reimer will still get moved. I do think other things are coming down the line. I can't see James Reimer staying there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a mistake if he's here. Really wanted, he wanted out, but this is again another issue with the Leafs, as everyone knows that he wants out. and they want to trade him. I mean, I'm sure the Leafs are not only getting lowballed on Dion Phaneuf offers, but they're obviously getting lowballed on James Reimer offers, and
Yeah.
that's probably why they haven't signed it. But I will say this: if he gets awarded, a stupid amount of money at the arbitration, which I really don't see happening, but I guess anything's possible, the Leafs will walk away. I don't think they'll pay him, over $2 million a year. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the
James
arbitration.
Reimer's a free agent suddenly if they do walk away, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a tough spot. It's a tough spot for James Reimer to be in, because
They're
there's
playing that game of Russian roulette, basically, right?
really
Do you trade him for nothing, or do you hope that the arbitrator doesn't award him a good money and you could keep him?
Exactly. I mean, you don't, and if you're James Reimer, you're also playing with fire here because I don't want to be a goalie on the market right now. Like you said, there's a lot of goalies out there.
Yes.
And even though James Reimer is a younger goalie than most are that are out there, he's still has potential. I really see the NHL like goalies. We're in a real glut of goalies right now, and yet no, the great goalies don't. How much do they really exist? That's the question. Like, how many great goalies are there in the NHL right now, considering how many goalies there are?
Yeah.
As great goalies, I think we're kind of down in as far as historically goes, and great goalies. But I think we're up in in just terms of goalies in general. We have a lot of very serviceable goalies, and we have a lot of veteran goalies, but we don't have a lot of great goalies, and we have this sort of muck of goalies, which is why I think goalies aren't getting drafted in the first round, because there's so many possibilities out there, and you don't want to bring a young goalie in. Young goalie is way too far away from playing in this league.
Not since Rick DiPietro was drafted high.
Right, and that all know how well that worked out. So there you go. So let's go to the chat room and do some questions today, Josh, because
sure.
A lot of people in there, and Mike's trying to join frantically, I know, but it's probably just not going to work out for Mike today. But Mike is at the Maple Leafs camp, and traffic is, internet traffic is crazy, when you're up there in situations like that. Everybody's trying to log on. We probably have one little, Nexus router in the side of the room chugging along to try to get 50 people onto the internet. So it's not surprising that Mike can't stream live video right now. I've been in that situation, so I know what that's all about. So Mike, don't worry about it. I'm gonna text Mike not to worry about it. But let's go as we're catching up here with the chat room. I'm just telling Mike to not worry about this.
No problem.
Okay, so as we're catching up with the chat room, throw out some questions for us. Mike, Josh, and I are the we'll call this Wild Speculation Wednesday. All right. Let's go into there and let's see what we got here, because we got some questions coming up. First from Flamester. Are the Flames going after another top 6 forward? I haven't gotten that impression. I've gotten more of the impression, I would say, that they are, I'm not going to say they're tanking, but they're definitely going for youth. And I don't know that there's a top 6 guy, like a Joe Thornton or a Marlowe, or thinking of the guys that are available. I haven't gotten the impression. What have you got on the Flames, Josh?
Well, I mean, right now, you look at who they have in. I think they already have a top 6, and Yuri Hudler, Dave Jones, Mason Raymond they signed, they signed Mason Raymond, Matt Stajan, Curtis Glencross, Sean Monahan. I mean, that's 6 guys right there, and then you also have Michael Backlund if he ever steps up to the plate and starts playing well. I believe they already have their top 6 going forward, unless they move maybe one of those guys out. But I know Stajan's not going anywhere. He's well liked in Calgary. Yuri Hudler has played well. David Jones has played well. Mason Raymond they just got. Curtis Glencross is a steal at $2.5 million cap hit. I don't see the Flames really going after a top 6 forward. I do see them, however, possibly going after a defenseman, since right now they currently only have 6 defensemen under contract for this upcoming season.
Yeah.
Because they lost Chris Butler and Derek Smith. So they have TJ Brody, Chris Russell, Derek England, who they signed to a stupid deal, Ladislav Smid, Mark Giordano, and Dennis Weidman. And we all know Dennis Weidman has had his injury issues, so Calgary definitely would probably, I imagine, like to add a top 4 defenseman as insurance in case Weidman can't stay healthy, because the last couple of years he has not been able to play 82 games.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I've heard the same with the Wings. I with the Flames. I've also heard the Flames were interested in some of the I've heard Braden Coburn rumors involving him. I've heard involving the Flames and the Oilers. So I think that's where they're going to look towards, and I think that they're kind of looking towards the draft of next year. I think the Flames, Panthers, and Sabres are 3 teams that are really looking towards the draft. Okay, so let's see. What Bomber84 wants to know what the Jets are looking for in return for Patrick Kane. Now, Patrick Kane is not doing himself any favors these days.
Evander Kane.
Evander Kane, sorry. I know, we're just talking about Patrick Kane. Apologize.
Yeah. Patrick Kane on the brain.
Patrick Kane on the brain. Evander Kane, not his brother, for sure. But Evander, what are they looking for Evander Kane? That's not, like I said, Evander Kane is not doing himself any favors these days by coming out in the press. I guess the other day he was asked. Mike was telling me that. I guess, did you hear this interview where he was asked if he wanted to be a Winnipeg Jet, and I guess he said, he was a Winnipeg Jet for now, kind of.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, this is the kind of thing that, teams. If he wants to get out of Winnipeg, he's doing it the wrong way. I mean, I have to say that he's going about this the wrong way. Someone needs to be coaching this Evander Kane. I don't know who his agent is, but
Evander Kane. I can tell you in 2 seconds.
Yeah, find out, because I can't imagine it would be somebody like, Pat Brisson or somebody like this who would tell him to shut up and stop talking to the press and stop tweeting to Instagram or whatever. I mean, you got to, this is, not a smart move for this guy.
Talking on your money phone.
Yeah, right, talking on your money phone and all this stuff. I mean, we live in a world where perception is sometimes reality, and you got to watch what you're doing there. But to answer your question as to what they're asking for Evander Kane, I don't think that really has gotten to that point yet. I think that what I've heard, is they're sort of like, are you interested in Evander Kane? What do you got? Kind of. It's not really a matter of, okay, we haven't gotten to that menu yet that we always see, right? Of like a first-round draft pick, a prospect from Sweden, some left-handed defenseman, or whatever. We haven't seen that list yet.
I found out who his agent is, and I'm actually surprised.
Okay.
Donnie Meehan.
Yeah, okay, so I am surprised too, because normally that whole group would have a better grasp on their player than this, but sometimes you just can't. Sometimes a player is a player. I mean, he's a free-thinking human being who's got his own Twitter account and his own smartphone. He can do whatever the hell he wants to with, and But if you're giving him advice, which I'm sure they are, they're probably telling him, if you want to get out of Winnipeg, stop talking and stop saying stupid things.
Yeah.
So that's.
I agree with you. I mean, him making that joke about, Claude Giroux after he was arrested, I thought was pretty low as well.
Yeah, it was. And Giroux did the right thing, came out, apologized, wrote a whole statement. But yeah, Evander Kane, no question he's got talent. I mean, he's got, I hear scouts and everybody compare him to Mike Modano and stuff like that. He's got Mike Modano-esque type talent. I don't know about that, but he shows that at times he does. Paul Moran 88 thinks Evander Kane is the most overrated player in the NHL by far in our chat room. I'm not so sure I would go that far with him. I would say he's. I'm going to say this, Josh. How about this? I'm going to say we have no idea how good or how bad Evander Kane really is yet. I think
that's true. It's untapped potential. I mean, he's got high upside for sure. If he's put in the right situation. I mean, he hasn't really been getting, top 3 minutes for forwards in Winnipeg. I mean, he's been on the second line, sometimes even the third line a lot. But I mean, I think if you put Evander Kane in the right situation, he could very well, flourish. Looking at the Winnipeg Jets right now, one guy who I see making a jump in his playing is, if they can move Evander Kane out, is Mark Scheifele. I think he's ready to take the next step in Winnipeg. The guy's only making is only a cap at $1.5 million, and I could see him, producing pretty well in Winnipeg and putting up better numbers than what Kane was putting up in Winnipeg. I think right now in Winnipeg, they got a lot of great young talent coming up. Not only Scheifele, I mean, on the back end, they also have Trouba, who I've been a huge fan of ever since I watched him play in the World Juniors on Team USA.
Yeah, Trouba too.
He's coming up, and because of his development and everything, that makes Dustin Byfuglien expendable. And also remember, Byfuglien, if he stays in Winnipeg, is going to be a forward this year. So there might not be a whole lot of room for Evander Kane in Winnipeg, and maybe the Jets try to move Evander Kane for a D-man. Dare I say, maybe the Jets and Toronto Maple Leafs might be good partners. Maybe a Dion Phaneuf or Evander Kane deal.
Well, we've heard this. It makes some sense, right? Because Dion's from around that area of Western Canada. But yeah, I mean, I think Derek Horatio Compton in the chat room brought up a really good point. This is a really funny one, actually. I like this. Evander Kane is the Stephon Marbury of the NHL. About right. Has the skill, but is a me first, and you can't win with him as your best player. I think that's an interesting one. I like that comparison. I would totally agree with that one. I think that's definitely right along the lines. Winnipeg has Odell coming up. They've got a lot of players that they really have been impressive, and they've shown a lot of things. But they still don't have a personality. And the problem with Winnipeg is that they don't have a personality. I like what you've talked. When you talk about the young kids they look really good, but they still haven't shown me anything that even Bogosian has sort of been back and forth, and I like him as a defender, and Byfuglien, who has a ton of personality, you would think would give the Jets personality, but doesn't somehow. Another question, Bison Blades asks, Eck, Ott, and the Sabres keep getting mentioned. Do you think the Sabres need Steve Ott now that they have Gianta? I personally don't. That's the question. I think they do. I mean, this is my thinking with this. I mean, you can't have too many of these type of players when you're doing this rebuild like you're doing right now. You need this. This is the kind of guy you need around. Gianta is one kind of leader. Ott's a different kind of leader. I mean, they're both are really good leaders, but Ott's a little bit more vocal than Gianta. I would say Ott's more of like he's gonna drive these kids and make them work. Where Gianta's gonna be the come to work and workman-like, show you how to do things with his actions. Where Gianta's gonna get in kids' faces. I think there's room for both, Josh.
Do you think there's if they bring in Steve Ott into Buffalo, do you think there's maybe too many cooks in the kitchen? As they say, I mean, maybe too many. I've heard of some teams having too many, voices in the locker room, and you need that one voice. I think as well. I agree with you. Now that Gianta's there, they don't need Steve Ott, and maybe Steve Ott wants to go back to Buffalo, and Buffalo doesn't want him. I mean, that's a good possibility.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely. I think that. I don't know. I don't think you can have too many cooks in the kitchen with this situation, and with that coaching staff. I think you're okay. I think you have so many young players, and there's such a need to get these players around mentors that are going to be able to lead them. I would say no, but so I kind of I think Josh and I are split on that one. I would say the Sabres still need to go get him. The Flyers do have interest in him as well because of the same sorts of reasons. The Flyers have a lot of young players too, and that's one of the reasons the Flyers won. But the Flyers won't be able to get Ott unless they can move LeCavier. So that's another reason that Ott might not be signed by now. I have heard that mentioned to me that Ott thinks he is holding out for the Flyers as a spot because he thinks that what they've talked to him about he really likes. He was in here visiting too, Steve Ott, and they were taking him around and they were doing all the things that they do with players. So I think that's a possibility too. Go ahead.
One thing I want to bring up, I don't know if there's anything going on or not, but apparently Brendan Shanahan's going to be addressing the media at 2:45 at the MasterCard Center. I don't know what that's about, but that makes me wonder what's going on. I'm definitely going to have my radio on at 2:45 to see what's going on there. Maybe he's just talking about their prospects or something, but or maybe he's talking about I don't know, possible moves, or maybe why they haven't made moves. I'm kind of intrigued here a little bit, Eck.
Well, Mike's there, so I'm sure we'll get some information on that one. Mike's up there now, so That could be good. That could be good.
Hmm.
Finally, a lot of people are talking about Tyler Myers in the chat room too. And Tyler Myers is one of those players that I think Buffalo needs to keep in the worst possible way, but they continually hear that his name's available. I know his game's fallen off a lot. I know Detroit loves him and would absolutely eat up a chance to get Tyler Myers into their system. But it's going to take a lot to get him. The Sabres' price is high for Tyler Myers and was high at the trade deadline. And it was almost as if it was so high at the trade deadline, it was more of a feeler type situation that Myers wasn't really available. But he was more like we wanted to see just for chance if we want to trade him in the future. And I think a lot of that is carried on to now. I don't know that Tyler Myers is as available now as people think he is. In my opinion, at least, so what I've heard is that his name is being mentioned, but not in any realistic way. This is the kind of guy. I mean, I think Tyler Myers on the right team. It's hard. It's another player that we have no idea what he is. We have Tyler Myers has played on a bad defensive team as a young defenseman for years now, and that's a really tough spot, Josh. We don't know what he's about.
He's another guy like Evander Kane that needs a change of scenery, and maybe we see some good numbers out of him, some good production. I mean, sometimes when players are in the same city for a long time and maybe they're ripped apart by a few coaches and on losing teams, some guys need to be moved to a team that's got some playoff success, even playoffs. I mean, Buffalo hasn't seen the playoffs in a few years, kind of like what's happening here in Toronto, except for that 1 year. But I think Tyler Myers obviously needs a change of scenery, and if he's moved out, I think that's definitely great. And you know what? A perfect fit, I believe, even though they're not really a playoff team for Tyler Myers, would be to Vancouver. Well, he's from BC. I think that he'd love to go and play in his hometown. But Vancouver might not be a playoff team right now, even though they still got the Sedins up front, and they just signed Verbata. They've one great line, and then after that, not I'm not too crazy about their second line. So, but I do think Vancouver would be a good fit for Tyler Myers. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no worries. I agree. I think Tyler Myers, in my opinion, would really work well there. I think in Detroit he would become a star.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they are so in need of that kind of player in Detroit that he would just. That's why the Red Wings are pursuing it, because he's one of those. He's the right age for their kids coming up. They have not replaced, guys that they've lost like Rafalski, like Lidstrom. They haven't replaced these guys, so I think in Detroit he's an absolute stud.
You know what I'd like to see, though, Eck? Even though I know there's no way in hell it happens, I'd like to see Tyler Myers go to Boston so he can be paired with Chara. You imagine those two guys on the back end?
Oh, man. I know. Well, can't you wait till, like, I was just talking to somebody today in Nashville about, them thinking about when they're going to play, Shea Weber and Seth Jones together. I mean, that's another just crazy duo when you think about it.
Mm.
I mean, think about coming down the ice, we've all played hockey, and then suddenly seeing like Seth Jones on one side and I mean, God, holy cow, that would be crazy. Well,
I was just talking about their height, both over 6'8". I mean,
I know, big guys. I know, and that's the thing. I mean, how often can you get yourself a Chara type player? I mean, if he's available, teams are all over it.
And Chara kind of reminds me a little bit of Tyler Myers in the fact that when Chara was a New York Islander, he was soft. He wasn't like the Chara that we know today.
Very soft.
He wasn't putting up the points. He wasn't, as aggressive as he is a player now. Maybe Tyler Myers could learn a few things from Zdeno Chara. I mean, he's got 6'8". He's 6'8", and needs to use his body more and scare the opposition when they're coming down on a breakaway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. He actually moves the puck better than Chara did at this point in his career. Like early on, Chara had you're right, he was soft and didn't move the puck nearly as well. Myers came in pretty much and can move the puck right away. So, but Chara now obviously has turned into I think the best defenseman in hockey. So, where Myers goes. Like Pipes Buffalo says, Myers is 6'8", but he plays like he's 5'8". He's a gentle giant. Or Mike Wilson 2.0. Yeah,
Mike Wilson.
Mike Wilson 2.0.
Mike Wilson just added me on Facebook yesterday. That's funny.
That's a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's plenty of teams. Believe me, the Flyers have talked to the Buffalo Sabres about Tyler Myers. The price is just really high because they're selling this like, well, this could be the next Zdeno Chara, and it's like,
Yeah.
and the team's response to the Sabres are, well, if he's the next Zdeno Chara, why is he available? You know, like what's going on? I mean, that's just like, you know, but he's very young. He's a kid.
The funny thing is, is this is like the total opposite of the Leafs. Everyone knows the Leafs are trying to trade Dion Phaneuf, so they're lowballing him. Everyone knows that Buffalo doesn't really want to trade Tyler Myers, but everyone wants Tyler Myers.
Everybody.
So, you know, that's why Tim Murray is asking a lot because he knows someone eventually will pay it.
But the one thing that I worry about in this situation is, you know, with a young player like Tyler Myers, seeing his name out there in trade rumors all the time, you know, a defenseman especially, it does affect them. I really do believe that. You know, you're getting an idea, you know, what he's worth, but you're also sending a certain message through. So it's a tricky spot to put him in. I think, you know, while everyone is available, like Bison Blade says in the chat room, I just don't think Tyler Myers is really available. And I wouldn't be surprised if they've actually told him, just ignore these trade rumors. You know, you're not available. People were asking me also, last thing is if Markstrom out in Vancouver had asked for a trade. Have you heard anything about that, Josh? I had not heard he'd asked for a trade.
I've not heard anything about that either.
You know, I know it seems like the thing that he would do right now, right, because of the situation. But you know, Markstrom is going to be one of those, like, he's right on the edge of becoming a huge bust in the NHL. Like, I mean, for all the hoopla about this kid when he came in, you know, Markstrom has not found his spot in this league. You know, so we'll see where that goes. But yep, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Yes, tall defensemen are the new black pots. We do have time to. We don't have any more time today. We really appreciate it. Thanks to Mike for trying. Wherever you are, Mike. I know you're trying in the chat room as well.
I just want to say one thing.
Go ahead, Josh.
Tracy Myers, who's a great writer for Comcast Sportsnet in Chicago, sent a tweet out. What was it? Let's see. 5 hours ago. Heading home to see family today. Don't do anything while I'm on the plane. Don't do anything while I'm on the plane, Blackhawks.
That's awesome. Oh, my gosh.
That's funny. That's funny. I had to read that.
What was the story I had? I had a great story about something to happen to me just like that. Well, I know what it was. We were on my in-laws had their 50th wedding anniversary, and for their 50th wedding anniversary, they had us all on a cruise. We went on a Disney cruise with the kids. And if you've ever been on a cruise ship, you know it's the worst place to follow the internet in the world. I mean, it's like internet. First of all, it's like $5 a minute to be online, and there's no unlimited plans or anything like that. You can't get. It's just crazy. And this was right before. I mean, they set this up as like this is 50th year, so you can't not go. This was like 3 weeks before the trade deadline that I was going to be gone for a week, which is like pretty much like just telling an accountant he's going to be away, you know, 2 weeks, take a vacation 2 weeks before April 15th or May 15th, depending what country you live in. So, so I'm sitting there, and I was on the boat, and I would go into the internet at key times a lot because I had to. I spent $2,500, no joke, on internet fees on the cruise. Wow. But I had to keep up with it. I had to keep up with what was going on, and I had to keep posting because, as if, you know, I mean, I played down the fact I was on a boat. I'm out there, right? And it's like crazy. But I would get in. I would set up chats. I would call people because the phone calls were even worse than the internet, expensive. So it was nuts. So and something like that happened where I can't remember who it was, but there was a player that was like available, and I would buy internet in stacks of like 100 minutes for like, I don't know, $50 or something like that. It was ridiculous. Wow. And it would tell you on your computer, literally, like, you have 30 seconds left on the internet. And I was texting with somebody, you know, via the internet. I was going back and forth. In this, actually, it was email or whatever it was. It was IM. And I'm going back and forth, and they said, wait a second, I just got a call. Hold on, I'll be right back. I know this is what you're looking for. And I say, you have 30 seconds left on your internet. And I'm like, ugh. So So I get cut off, and then I go back in because I pay another $50 or $500 or whatever it was. It was ridiculous, and it turned out to be nothing. But it's like those are great moments when you're on a plane and nothing can happen.
Well, I was 10 years ago. I went to Australia. My soon-to-be wife was going to a teachers' college at Griffith University, and I went to Australia. And this was 10 years ago, and Australia is behind in the times just a little.
Like 20 years behind the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No one really had internet then.
Yeah.
You had to go to the mall, and I went to the mall, and they had dial-up. I had to get dial-up internet to get on the internet, and sometimes the dial-up would take 15, 20 minutes to actually get on the internet. I was like, oh my God, I'm having flashbacks of when I was a kid, when I was 15 years old trying to get on AOL. So it was kind of funny. But, I mean, they had the same thing. They had a timer, and I must have blown, I was there for 3 weeks. And this was right when July 1st. So for 3 weeks, I'm like, I need to find out. Did anyone sign? And I think I probably dropped about $200 on the internet in 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, I will, sometimes you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do what you got to do. You're in that spot. I couldn't say no to that trip. I couldn't, do it, and I had to still work, which was not the first time I've done that. So we've all done that. But thanks, guys, for joining us today. Appreciate you all hanging out on the Josh and X show today. And we'll be back again tomorrow. Time might change tomorrow a little bit. I'll let you know, Josh, later. I've got something going on in the morning, and we'll see where Mike is. But look for updates today on Hockey Buzz. You can follow Josh at Josh Rimmer Hockey on the Twitter spheres. Have you reached your goal, Josh?
I have, actually. I'm now at 20,200 followers, guys.
Excellent. I thought you would eventually.
So thank you for those that did follow.
No, anytime. Yeah. Man, that's so funny. Anyway, someone just texted me who was trying to text me on the boat. Remembered that story. It's pretty funny. We do have a lot. We have interesting people that watch this show. You'd be surprised. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. See you then.